Marcus Garvey words come to pass. Marcus Garvey words come to pass. Can't get no food to eat. Can't get no money to spend. Whoa. Can't get no food to eat. Can't get no money to spend.
Barigani, Hotep, greetings Africans, and welcome to a special edition of the UNIA Rock Media. We're broadcasting from the Marcus Garvey Hillside Studios, and this special edition, we've got two talented Africans, and we'll be discussing the new issue of the Garvey's Voice, the Year in Review 2023. It came out in January 2024. So let me introduce to you in no special order, but the first guest is actually, I'm very closely related to him. He's my firstborn. My son is named after Dr. Walter, who wrote How Europe Underdeveloped Africa and the History of the Upper Guinea Coast from 1500 to 1800. Let me introduce to you our dear friend, confidant, and my son, Rodney Sumer Duguay.
Greetings, Africans, those at home and those abroad.
Okay, and the other guest is the esteemed scholar, our resident intellectual, the president of the New York division, my brother, your brother, the youthful brother, Brother Oscar G. Bryan.
Race first Africans, race first Africans.
It's such a pleasure to have you Africans here. Okay, we're discussing the Garvey's Voice, the Year in Review 2023. So let me get started. First of all, there was an article written by Rodney. It's called The Lost Files. So let's start with that. Rodney, talk to us. Why did you write it, and give us the backdrop to this article? Go right ahead.
I've written, this is I think my fourth contribution or article to the Garvey's Voice, and this by far was the most fun to write. This was back in August. Curacao was actually my first UNI convention. Can you believe that? And it couldn't have been a better site or location because it was actually on an island, on a beach. So as soon as I found out the convention was going to be in Curacao, my wife, my 5-year-old, quickly signed on.
They're so motivated by race first.
Absolutely, with a side of beach. The way I pitched my wife and my son on the convention was, I told him it's mainly a family vacation with a side of UNI business.
Okay.
That was the pitch.
Shouldn't that be the other way around? Shouldn't it be UNI business first? And if you have time, you can do some sightseeing and beach?
Like I said, I had to be
He
creative.
knows his audience. You got to know your audience, so you got to market it to his audience. So yes.
Brother Oscar, are you his attorney or something?
He's my brother, so he's my responsibility. I am my brother's keeper.
I have to tell you, he's my son. He's a Duguay. In fact, we have the same initials, RSD. Okay, go ahead.
So it really turned into a family vacation, but I was super excited because I haven't had a chance yet to go to Africa. But in my mind, this was the next best thing, to go back home, if you will, for my first convention. Because it was a family vacation, logistically, I had to sort of keep the family happy, namely my wife and my son, but also allow myself to participate fully in the convention.
Okay.
So
No, but isn't it race first? Well, the race comes first. You know, your family is part of the race.
Right.
Brother Oscar, I don't hear any comments from you. No, it is race first, is it not?
It is race first. It is race first.
That's what Mr. Garvey taught me. I don't know. I could be wrong.
That's what he taught me.
Brother Oscar, being that you teach the orientation course,
Yes,
did not Mr. Garvey teach us race first?
Yes, he did. Race
Okay.
first, race second, and race third.
Okay. I just want to be sure. Okay. Go ahead, Rodney.
So from the very beginning, and I talk about this in the article, the first mistake I did was that I didn't stay with the rest of the group.
Oh, fatal. That was a fatal mistake.
Right.
I mean, we had such a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, we got lost together. We had to find breakfast every morning together. And
Right.
but brother Josue, there's not enough that
Yeah,
can be
man.
said. I mean, respect to the brother. Brother Josue Camilla, I mean, he did a yeoman's work. But go ahead.
And I do want to speak on Brother Josue later on, but thank you for bringing that up. So that was the first, fateful mistake I made, was sort of trying to have my own sort of itinerary outside of the UNI group. And the only reason why I did that was, like I said, I was trying to make it a real vacation for my wife and my son. But in hindsight, if I could do it all over again, I would have either had us stay with the group or kept my wife and my son back home, and I could participate fully in the convention. I talked
Yeah,
about
but then I wouldn't have Grant. I wouldn't have Amil. I mean,
Yeah.
Even in the book, the black skin is a badge of honor. The book is dedicated to Amil. For those of you who are unaware, we wrote a book called "The Black Skin is a Badge of Honor," but it's dedicated to Amil and his dad. It should be the other way around, but Amil is the focal point. But go ahead.
Yeah, the dad being an afterthought. Though there's no Amil without me. But
Well, there's no you without me, so we got to start at the beginning, okay? Go ahead.
So the whole trip really was trying to appease or placate both parties. My wife and my Amil on one side, and then the UNI on the other. And poor me, I was sort of kind of sandwiched in the middle. In the end, really pleasing neither side. But all jokes aside, I really had, not only was this my first convention, it was also my first time traveling to Curacao. I had previously gone to Aruba, and if you've ever traveled to Aruba, Aruba and Curacao are part of what they call the ABC Islands. And for whatever reason, well, I know the reason, but I'm going to play, ignorant here. Aruba gets all the attention.
Right.
Aruba is the place to be.
Right.
It's the hot spot. And I sort of almost bought into that. I said, well, hopefully Curacao is half as good as Aruba, and I'll enjoy myself.
Right.
Do you have any reason why mainstream or people in general, I say in quotations, promote Aruba?
It's not African at all.
It's always race. It always comes down to race.
That's the only reason. As
Right.
soon as you step foot in Curacao, it's nothing but black indigenous people, like black people that look just like you and I. In Aruba, it's
But hold it. You've been to Aruba how many times?
twice now.
2 years in a row.
Correct.
I mean, it must have been a reason. Go ahead.
Again, I blame my wife and my son. We've gone both times really for my son's birthday.
Okay.
This year we're stopping that. We're not going back to Aruba.
Okay.
But Curacao is really of the AB. And again, I haven't had the opportunity to travel to Bonaire, but just to contrast Aruba and Curacao, first of all, Curacao is a bigger island. It's beautiful and it's black. That's what people fail to tell you. It's a black island.
That's right.
From head to toe.
Brother Josue told me that when I went there in February 2022, because he's
from
been to all
Curacao.
three.
But he's from Curacao.
Yeah, and he said, no. He said, Aruba is for white folks. That's what he told me.
100%.
Go ahead.
100%.
Go ahead.
So all this, as we landed in Curacao, I'm digesting all this, and that's what sort of for me made the trip so special. Not only is it a black island, but we stayed at the Marriott. There were black workers, black people.
Yeah. That's right.
Every vacation that I've gone on with my wife and my son, oftentimes we're the only black people at the hotel, or we don't see other black people.
Rodney, that means so. I can't even fathom that. I don't go to these places anymore. Right. Even on the planes, even when I travel by plane, it's majority black. Yeah. But anyway, continue.
So that was my first sort of impression of Curacao. And when I think of Curacao, I really think of Brother Josue. And when I first was actually thinking of the piece, I mentioned this to you. The backstory is I actually wanted the piece to really be a dedication to Brother Josue, because he really went, above and beyond as far as a host to really make this convention special for me.
Okay.
Josue's the man in Curacao.
Yeah.
When I got there, I said, I got to drink water. I got to drink at least 800 milliliters of water a day. Just a thing. And so I was looking for a place to get water as soon as I got off the plane because I can't travel with that
Right.
for some reason. And so we went to a store, and there was a guy who looked kind of homeless, right? A guy who he probably has never left Curacao in his life. And when he saw Joshua, it's like he saw his uncle. And he was jumping. He was so happy to see Joshua. Like, whoa, but Joshua really knows he's really the man around here. The guy who's never left here might not even have left that 5 square miles. He knows who Joshua is.
Yeah.
And so yes.
No, but
Joshua,
his nickname is Tico.
Tico.
Everywhere on the island, Tico. So I started calling him mi tío Tico, my uncle Tico. He knows everything. He knows everybody.
Right.
No, but anyway, so what are your thoughts? Okay, now let's get back to the article. So you wrote it, The Lost Files.
Right.
Why?
The theme of the trip unofficially was this idea. Everywhere I went, I got lost. And part of that was because, like I said, I made the fateful decision to stay separate from the group.
Okay.
Just to get to the convention site. Remember, everyone, just to give everyone sort of an idea, everyone's staying together. Everyone wakes up at the same time together. Everyone travels on the bus together.
That's right.
I decided to stay.
And then the bus ride was hilarious.
More bonding time, right?
I mean, brother Asta was holding his own convention back there. I mean, you could hear him. And I said, what is going on in here? You could see the distinction. Like all the serious people in the UNI were in the front. Okay. You know, the semi-serious were in the middle. All the jokesters, all the hangouts of which brother Asta was conducting convention, they were all in the back. They were the most boisterous. They were the loudest.
Right.
But that's what made it so much lovely. It made it happy. It was one big family, but go ahead.
And in moments like that, I missed. And, when we talk about the convention, yes, we're here to conduct serious business, but it's those moments in between that you really cherish and that sort of build these long-lasting bonds. So for that reason and many other reasons, if I had to do it all over again, 100%, I would stay with the group.
Okay.
Anyway, so to make all these logistics work out, I decided to rent a car. And I say this in the article, I think I probably inherited this from my grandfather. I am absolutely the worst with directions.
Wow.
GPS, map, I get lost just going to my bedroom. I mean, I'm not good with directions. I admit that.
Don't admit it too freely. Your last name is still Duguay, okay? Let's be real now, okay? You can mention other people's names, but it's still my last name. But go ahead.
So when I got the rental car, I was a little nervous. And man, I get lost in Brooklyn. How am I gonna figure out the streets of Curacao? The Hertz sales rep told me, "Don't worry. There's this amazing app. It's called Maps.me. It's basically Google Maps, but it doesn't need internet connection." So I thought, that's the solution. You put it on your phone, you don't need data. So I said, great. I got the address, maybe from Niza, my sister.
And Zinga.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it was at the what was in the convention site?
Centro di Barrio Montagna.
Right, that rings a bell. I think Brother Joshua can vouch for me. I don't know if every building has an exact address in Curacao. Sometimes
it can't have an exact address.
It's just, landmarks or turn right when you get 30 miles. So think of someone who's already not good with directions, driving in an island they've never been to, in a place that doesn't have addresses. It's a recipe for disaster.
It is, yes.
I hop in my rental car, I'm driving. I know I'm in striking distance based on where the app is telling me, but I have no clue what to look for, where to go. I know I'm already running late. At some point, I parked my car on the side of the road, and I literally just start knocking on doors. And mind you, I don't even speak the language.
Right.
So it's not looking so good for me. I drive around in circles. I even get to what looks like an abandoned church. I'm knocking on the church door, and I talk about the article where...
We're not far from the church, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, the name of the church is the Church of the Immaculate Conception.
Gotcha.
Let me give you a backdrop. When I was there in April in preparing for the convention, I said, hold it. We're doing the people's work. We need the blessings from the Almighty. So I said, I went inside the church, to request that, and you know how the world works. If you give enough finances, they'll do a church for you. They'll do a mass for you. So I wanted to start the convention with a blessing from the Monsignor. And this is a black island, so I said, I can't go wrong. I walk in the church, every image is white. White Jesus, white Mary, white Joseph, white saints, white everything. I was with Josue, and I said, let's get out. We're not even going to negotiate those terms. So, but the church is not far from where the Centro di Barrio Montaña.
Okay, that makes sense. And I knocked on every door you can think of, car doors, church door. I just had no luck. And in the article, I mentioned that, I knocked on the church door and even God couldn't help me. No one answered,
Well, you should have asked my aunt. If you ask my aunt will provide, but go ahead.
And I kid you not, I'm a decent writer. So a lot of times if you ask any decent writer, we rely on creative license to embellish things. But I kid you not, this is exactly how everything unfolded. At one point I had almost given up. I kept circling around, couldn't find this convention site. And of course, because I'm still on a family plan, and how to put it, my dad is very budget conscious. I couldn't even call anyone. The plan was deactivated. I was just lost completely. At that point, I said, you know what? I gave it my best shot. Let me go back home, back to the hotel. As I'm driving back on the path, I kid you not, waving high up in the sky, almost like a sign from the gods. I see red, black, and green flags.
Big flags all over the place.
I mean, just imagine, I've given up all hope of finding this convention site. I'm ready to go home and pack it off. Say, you know what, I tried. And I mean, talk about divine intervention. This flag is waving high up in this. I mean, you
Here's
can't miss
to this flag of mine, waving so high.
Once I see this flag, I'm like, okay, I know I'm in the right place. It still takes me another 20 minutes to actually find the convention site. But at least
in the right area.
It restored my hope.
Let me say this. When we went in April, Josue and we came up with the idea. We paid to have all of these flags made. And I told him, I want them waving everywhere. We wanted flags all over Curacao.
Right.
Even billboards. I wanted the whole world to know red, black, and green. But go ahead.
So finally, I see the flag. Again, it takes me another 15, 20 minutes. And then I see what looks like, okay, this could be a convention site. I park my car. And
I'm looking at you. I saw you coming out.
You're looking at me. And do you know I still managed to go through the wrong door?
Yes, I saw that.
Everything, like I said, I spent most of this trip getting lost. The beauty in getting lost is, though, you get to explore. Yes. I did a lot of exploring, burned a lot of gas, but I got to explore. What a beautiful, beautiful island. So that was sort of the backdrop to my convention. Once, and I say this in the piece, it wasn't so much I found the convention. Once Garvey found me, that's when my convention
look
started.
For me.
Look
for me in the whirlwind. Look for me in the storm. Look for me all around you. With God's grace and blessing, I shall carry countless millions of Africans who have died in the Caribbean and North America, and countless millions in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life.
And the metaphor could not be more apt. I think I mentioned in the piece that, you get to a point, whether in life or in your journey, personal journey, you get so lost that someone has to find you, right? And I got to that point that this red, black, and green, it was more than just a flag. It almost was, like I said, divine intervention. That Garvey found me, and I said, okay, my convention can fully and finally start for real. So that was, as dramatic as it sounds, I promise you, everything unfolded just as I'm describing it. Once I finally got into the convention site, keep in mind, this is my first convention, so I don't really know. I have an idea how conventions work, but I have no idea what to expect. And I was really just blown away, I'll be honest with you, Dad. Just the formality of the convention, the rules. It's not just...
by the way, you know where we got all those from, right? His name is Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I mean, just think about it. 1920. Black people never... give the brother his credit. First, on Sunday, August 1st, he puts on a parade. He's got 150,000 Africans marching in Harlem. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. The next day, Brother Asa's favorite newspaper, the one that he can't live without, that's the New York Times, the paper of record. I'm teasing you. I thought it was the Garvey's Voice is your favorite.
What are we talking about?
In those days, okay. Even the New York Times had to say 150,000 Negroes, independence is soon coming. If you can get 150,000 black people marching in uniform, on horseback, in cars, in trucks,
Right.
you can't help but say, this is a nation. This is a government. They're coming. So,
Especially in Harlem.
yeah,
Especially in Harlem.
that was Sunday, August 1st. Monday, August 2nd, Garvey blows the lid off. He's got 25,000 people. They've got to march into the old Madison Square Garden. He's going to put 10 people abreast for 2,500 rows to march into the old Madison Square Garden on 26th and Madison. Brother asked the people were dumbfounded, like, what is this?
Show of force.
No one's ever done anything like that. But get this, the old Madison Square Garden can only hold 8,000 people. So how is Garvey going to fit 25,000 people? For those of you that study higher mathematics, there's a branch of mathematics called unit operations. This is what Rommel used in North African campaign in European World War II, how to get resources to allocate resources. There is a math and science behind it. There are different techniques. Anyway, Garvey had to have invented that. Just think about it. And here's the biggest support to Garvey. He's got 8,000 in the Madison Square Garden. Let's say it even gets 10,000. But he's still got 15,000 outside. So if you don't know any better, you're passing by, you see 15,000 people outside. You must think there's 1 million people out here. Because if it's 15,000 outside, there must be another 1 million inside. So that just builds on the reputation, builds on the clairvoyant, everything. So all of this, the whole rules of convention, all of that he puts in the Constitution. But and it was a real government in exile. They debated, they argued, they forecasted. It was real black men, black women power. So what you're seeing is just a small microcosm, but continue, Rodney.
Right. And I speak about it because, like you said, this was my first convention. I didn't have a precedent,
Right.
So the only thing I could think of, and I apologize in the article for lack of better terms, it reminded me of like Parliament or Congress.
Right.
The only difference is black people here running the show.
That's right.
And that's the closest thing I can description I can offer to anyone who hasn't attended a previous convention. That's the closest description I can think of. And I was really blown away. Just again, the formality, the rules, the structure. It really felt official.
That's right. That's right.
That was my big takeaway. My personal highlight, and I'm biased, was the youth panel, which Brother Oster was actually on the panel with me.
He was moderating it.
Or he was a moderator.
I'd like to know who selected Brother Oster to do that. I knew Brother Oster would be perfect. I said, this is the brother. No, you did an excellent job. The way you introduced it, everything. But go ahead, Rodney.
So that was my personal highlight. And I should also add, I don't remember, because the convention is 3 days long, correct?
That's right.
I don't know if I was there for all 3 days, unfortunately. I want to say I was there for 2 out of 3. So again, even the article itself, if I'm being honest, I didn't do the convention justice because I wasn't there all day, every day. I got there late, and I didn't stay, and I'm careful to mention, I didn't stay with the group. So the convention is more than just the proceedings. It's the whole
It's the camaraderie. It's the breaking bread, because
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday was all social.
Right.
We visited Curacao. We ate together. We visited farms. We got to know the
100%.
history. We did what they call otra banda. We did punta. There are 2 different sides because of the bridge.
Correct.
It's amazing. And then that last day where we had the march, we went to Tula Park. Were you there, Brother Oster?
Of course.
Oh, man. Tula, 1795, of all days, is going to lead the rebellion. August 17th, the holiest day of obligation. Mr. Garvey's birthday. Well, Mr. Garvey's born 1887, but this is 1795. So August 17th is also a holiday in Curacao. So for all those reasons, we had to go there. But to go to what they call Enslavement Park, in the park, they've got a lot of your great leaders.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
Again, I missed all this.
Yeah, no, Dessalines. I mean,
They listed all the slave revolts, so they didn't just say this is Curacao. They listed all of the, I shouldn't say all, a good
But
number
a
of
good
other
number of them. Yes,
slave revolts
yes,
that happened
yes.
throughout the diaspora.
That's right.
Which I
Yeah.
thought was very unifying.
Yeah, no. Everything was, and then
Nat Turner.
Nat Turner. Yeah, there you have it. No,
BC's listed there.
and so that was Monday and Tuesday. So the convention started Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
Right.
and then Saturday we went to Little Curacao.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh man!
Once again, I missed all that.
We all got together on the boat. We went. A lot of us. Everybody went in the water.
I heard amazing things.
Everybody went. Even Brother Asta went in the water. Everybody.
Wow.
Your sister and Brother Josue was swimming back and forth. So that's what we wanted. And then Sunday we had the march and Tula, and then we capped it off at Zion Park. That was, I thought, the best part actually.
That was hot.
Yeah. In Zion Park with Rastafari. And then, people spoke this and that. Then at the end, they had us close it out. I got
Sweet Georgia.
Sweet Georgia Johnson from Chicago. She's an opera singer. And so we were singing the Universal Ethiopian Anthem, but there were two live bands there. So we had one play a background drumming. It was like,
beat.
yeah,
Remix.
it was like reggae. Oh, we had it, and Brother Asta, do you think I have a future in entertainment?
Absolutely. Black man, you could accomplish what you will.
It was very good, and the food. I mean, we're there to do the people's work, but here to come together, and that was. I thought the ending at Mount Zion Park with Rastafari. I thought that was important, but the whole thing was, but talk to us about the election for the next city. What happened there?
Yeah. So again, a lot of this experience, was new for me. So on the last day, I'm not gonna name the UNI members. Well, so what happened is, so at one point, because I was staying at another hotel, and I talk about it in the piece, when we do go on vacation, it's not often, but my wife and my son have one prerequisite, one requirement.
That's it.
There needs to be beachfront. That's the only thing they care about. It must be beachfront. So that's how we ended up at the Marriott. When my brother and my sister came to visit me, I think on the first day that I arrived, they were like, wow, this is such a great beach. Before we leave, we have to make sure we spend some time on the beach. And I was all with it. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll facilitate it. There was another member,
A high-ranking official.
a high-ranking member who shall not be named, Brother Quahir, who was also interested in the beach.
He's a beach guy. I've known Quahir 57 years. He's a beach guy.
Really.
If there's a beach, Quahir is coming.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the last day of the convention, the plan was, we had discussed this before. You said, as soon as your panel is over, you, your sister, Brother Quahir, you guys can all cut out. Your convention will effectively be over. I said, that sounds great to me. The panel was supposed to be an hour or two early in the morning, so we can still basically have most of the day to enjoy at the beach.
That's right.
We did the panel, amazing, great time, great experience, back and forth feedback. Just to give a recap of the panel, the main thing was, as we look forward and look ahead to the new year and the future years, how does UNIA as a parent body, how do we appeal to the youth? How do we recruit younger members? That was the main sort of topic of discussion. And I remember, I think I said, one of the tools that I believe that we can use to recruit younger members, the youth, is this platform right here that we're on.
UNIA Rock Media.
Through the podcast, through other online content, I think that gives us a really good chance to recruit the youth. So that was essentially the gist of the panel. So once everything wraps up, at that point, it's just a waiting game. I'm getting ready to cut out, But of course, I didn't realize again, everything is very rules bound. Before you can officially end of the convention, refresh my memory. Someone has to
nominate, somebody has to nominate cities for the convention site next year.
Right.
And then it has to be, not only that, but after the nomination, the city site has to accept or reject the nomination. And then some words are said to describe what they can expect.
Right.
And then other cities are nominated in the same process.
Right.
And then after there is more than one city nominated, then there's a vote. But before then, people can discuss pro and con.
Right. So I was under the understanding once you said, listen, once the panel's over, you can cut out. I was thinking, okay, I'll kind of tip my hat or give you a little salute, and then I'll just, kind of escape. I didn't realize, well, no, Roddy, that's not quite how it worked. But
No,
again,
I thought so too.
Right.
I didn't know there would be people that
Right.
would oppose New York.
so as once the panel's done, we're just all sort of waiting, and things are getting a little awkward because I can kind of feel, I wouldn't say tension in the air, but just something didn't feel right because I was ready to kind of head out, and I kept trying to make eye contact with you, and you just kept giving me this knowing look. Okay, something is, and it wasn't a verbal communication, but I could just tell you kind of gave me that look that says, just hold back, don't leave quite yet. I said, okay, least I could do. I mean, every day at the convention I came late. I said, least I could do is spend a couple, a little extra time. And like you said earlier, before the convention wraps up, what we do is we vote on the next year's convention, the site of the next year's convention. And just to give you guys context, right, 2024, right, the year that we're in, is an extremely important election year. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I'm talking about election for the UNIA.
Oh, that important
Right,
election.
that election. And the way it works is that currently the New York division of the 4 elected positions, we hold 3 out of 4, right? So again, my thinking is that and I'm a member of the New York division, right? If we want to continue to elect the current slate of officers, right? The greatest chance that we're going to have is to hold the convention in New York, right? Because the idea is that if you hold it in another city, you're hoping that everyone will make the trip or travel to another city. But if it's in your whole city, well, then, of course, all the members will come out and vote.
There's an advantage there, right.
Again, this is not politics. This is complete common sense. Hold it in New York so New York can continue to...
Well, if New York is doing a good job. If they're not doing a good job, vote them out.
Right.
No. If they're not doing a good job, vote them out.
Right. And that goes without saying, but yes, the assumption, if you're happy with your current slate of officers, then it's a no-brainer to, well, let's have it. Let's have home advantage. Let's continue. All right. And I guess it's an important point you made. That's assuming you're happy with the current.
If you're not, then build your division, bring your members, and vote them out.
Absolutely.
And that's what you should do.
Right.
But, the thing is, everyone has that opportunity.
Correct.
Okay, continue.
So as we're getting ready, and so the way it works is that before we finally hold the vote, each representative or member from the various divisions basically makes their case why they should have it in their city. So Philadelphia made their case.
No, it was Baltimore.
Baltimore
/ Washington, D.C.
Okay.
There were only 2 choices.
Okay, Baltimore, D.C., and
New York.
The D.C. folks nominated Baltimore.
No, didn't Atlanta make a case too? No.
No.
It wasn't. Okay.
Atlanta didn't have.
They didn't. Well,
Atlanta wasn't even there.
Atlanta wasn't even.
Oh, so I'm thinking. Okay, no.
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
The
Okay.
D.C. folks nominated Baltimore, so Baltimore and New York were the 2.
That was okay. So it was
No,
basically a vote.
but the Baltimore site was going to be a combined Baltimore and D.C. because the plan was they were probably going to try to do at least one event in Washington.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, no, not they were saying, but it would make sense. It would make sense. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. And then thank you. I forgot sort of the logistics of that. So it was basically Baltimore / DC and New York. And you could tell that there was a lot of pushback and resistance about hosting it in New York. Some people were saying, oh, we've done it in New York plenty of times. It's expensive.
But let me say this. Every one of Garvey's convention was in New York.
Right.
People don't realize that every one of them, 1920, 1921, 1922, there was no convention in 1923, and then 1924. Then February 1925, he was incarcerated in Atlanta. Right. So all 4 conventions was in New York at the headquarters. Right. Go ahead.
And I remember very clear now that we're talking about it. PG's wife, Sister Sophie, actually made a really convincing case that if we're having the parade in New York and we want to have the question we should be asking ourselves is not if the whole city is too expensive or too far or is it convenient, where can we have the biggest impact? That is the question we should be asking ourselves.
Oh, hold it. Brother Asa, you were at the parade August 17th
Yeah.
in Harlem.
Yes.
Have you ever seen bigger?
Hey, listen, it was serious, and I know this year is going to be much bigger. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there because you don't want to miss it.
Yeah. No, because the work was done.
Yeah.
You know, we followed Mr. Garvey's black print. Simple as that.
And I thought that was very convincing. So anyone who was on the fence, once Sister Sophie made that case, I said, well, there you go. All these other excuses are not relevant, whether it's expensive, too far, hotel,
But let me ask
vacancy.
you a question. How did these 25,000 black people descend upon to New York for Garvey's convention? It had to have been more expensive then.
No, it's more expensive.
But
No,
think
but the
about
case,
it.
the point is well made, right?
But think about and it was truly international. He had everybody from every corner of the globe.
But we also controlled Harlem then too, so right there, it was really.
Well, I don't know if we control. Garvey controlled it. Yeah, I don't know if we control it.
We as black folks.
No, I don't know, but I know the UNIA, Mr. Garvey.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. If you have 1,000 employees
Yes.
in Harlem, you're controlling it. Right. I mean, you don't even have to. I mean, just think about it. 1,000 employees in Harlem. Yes. Come on, UNIA was controlling it. Simple as that.
So Sister Sophie makes this really, impassioned case for why it should be held in New York. Then I remember there was some back and forth about, well, I guess it was after it was voted, but there was some back and forth about the start dates where the convention can't start before the parade.
Before Mr. Garvey's birthday.
Right. So I know
but we patterned it, the convention around Mr. Garvey's birthday. We want to make the biggest impact.
Right.
Our goal is simple, 20,000 Africans in the street.
Right.
And we've already started. Well, we're in the new year. We started since September of 2023. We save the date, get out the vote. No, so if you want people there, you have to go get them. And you have to go advertise, promote, and recruit. So we're doing all at the same time. Right. Go ahead.
And then, so of course, you expect members from their division to make their case. So Baltimore members to make the case for Baltimore.
Right.
What I found very interesting.
What? True.
Right. What I'm saying
Washington, D.C.
No, but you expect
supporters.
people to make their case for their city.
Right.
Baltimore for Baltimore, so on and so forth. Then things got really, interesting, where you had New York members making a case for other cities. Which, again, as my first convention, I think I've read this in a piece, in all my years of never attending a convention, I found this, I was flabbergasted. Why would New York members...
It's a good thing you came, because if it was everything to script, everything followed what we thought would follow, you wouldn't have learned anything.
Right.
But this, you did learn. You have an appreciation for civility, appreciation for rules and regulation. Go ahead.
So I was a little bit scratching my head, like, well, why would New York members vote against our own interests? Like, that part I didn't get. And like I said, this was my first convention, so I was just more in observational mode. I didn't really, offer any opinions, but I was just it was a head scratcher for me, So ultimately, we had this vote, right? And
it was a close vote.
It got not only was it close, it comes down to the wire, right? I mean, we almost had a mini uprising here. And I kid you not. Again, I know I can be dramatic. I am my father's son, but I'm telling you, it was a tight vote. It ended up being New York won, and the margin, I think, was 3 votes. Myself, my brother, and my sister.
And Brother Quahir.
And just to add to the drama, that day, you had 4 New York members not present. Right. Your mother, your mother-in-law, and
my aunt.
So we lost 3 votes there.
Right. No, because these are elders.
Yeah. Right.
And they needed a day off. And so I said, just relax. And they totally enjoyed it. They were relaxing, laughing, and they were rejuvenated. Right. But go ahead.
But, sometimes you hear the saying, every vote counts. But it literally, every vote counted. Because you miss any one of those votes, this convention is not coming back here.
In the letter that Rasta Soldier wrote, he says, what if
Right.
You know, no, he
yeah.
really he got into it.
Right.
You know, Rasta Soldiers, our brethren at East Jersey State, and he read the whole Garvey's Voice cover to cover, and
Right.
his letter was a good summary. But go ahead, Rodney.
And that was my goal in writing it, because so many times when you guys are in Africa or you return from Africa, when you describe the camaraderie and the stories, I almost feel like I'm there with you. Though
Right.
I'm not, I feel,
Right.
as you're tasting the mangoes or the pineapple, I can taste it too, vicariously through you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wrote this piece, I wanted, as someone who's never been to the convention, the idea when we write, when we do Garvey's Voice, is yes, we're preaching to the choir, but we're also trying to broaden our base. So people who've never been to the convention, who don't know what it's about, I want to put them in my shoes so they can see for themselves what the convention is about. So when I wrote the piece, I wanted people to feel the drama. Like, this was really a tight vote. And that day we lost 3 votes because, like I said, your mother-in-law, your mother, and your aunt didn't show up. So that's 3 votes that would have definitely been in favor of New York. We lost those 3. And before the vote took place, myself, my sister,
Your
my
brother.
brother, and Brother Kwahir, we were all going to cut out. So really, you would have lost 7 votes.
Yeah,
That would have been the difference.
that's right.
So that was incredible to me. So that's how my convention, formally ended. But wow, I did not know there would be so much high drama. I had no idea. And I don't know how I worded it.
At the 2021 convention, they went through the amendments. They were adding amendments to the Constitution. Man, you're talking high drama. You're talking about lack of civility. You're talking about threatening. That's what it was. It was beautiful. I mean, you can really have an appreciation for that Black people come together as a government
Right.
in exile to prepare and plan for people, for our people. All of this is the work of one man, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Okay, good.
Incredible.
Okay, Brother Asta, thank you, Rodney.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Brother Asta, Dawood's article, why we always have to thank and respect IET.
Yeah. First off, thanks for Brother Dawood and all the work he's done with all the organizations. I love spending time with him. But yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Is IET just for those Africans born in IET?
Absolutely not. But IET represents African struggle. Frederick Douglass said all Black people are African, and the idea that
By the
on
way,
such a massive scale,
he was the first official representative when the U.S. finally recognized IET after destabilizing it, after hoping to overthrow it. They play the bluff. They send Frederick Douglass. But the thing about Frederick Douglass, and I hate to really say it, but I have to say the truth. I have to say the truth. He's being sent to IET as a representative of white man, and he's Jim Crowed. He can't go sit up front. He's got to go sit in the lower cabins.
In IET?
No, in the boat. Because, there's no planes. You got to take a ship to get to IET. Well, they had segregated cabins. And so even though he's an official, it doesn't get any worse than that. No offense. If that were me, I'd resign. Like, I don't need this job. Nah, I don't need this job. I don't need this job.
It's not like Frederick. But he was, at that point, he's not a fugitive from justice anymore, right?
No, but come on, he's down with the program.
Yeah.
But he was Jim Crowed. I mean, and he was served morsels just like they served the dogs. I mean, and you're the official high representative of the government of the United States?
But from coming out of slavery, right? He was born a slave. You know what I mean? So,
be careful, be careful. You're on shaky ground. You're on shaky ground, Brother Osden.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in other words, he has come so far that...
Okay, hold it. What about Dessalines? He was born into slavery. He defeated number 3 superpower, number 2 superpower, number 1 superpower, and then he declares all Africans, just put your foot on that soil. Number 1, you're free. And number 2, you're a citizen. Immediate. There's no residential status.
No.
There's no residential status term. Soon as you step foot, we embrace you.
So the difference, I would say, again, and you're talking about 80-year difference in period of time, right? My time, yeah,
Okay.
80.
Oh, what,
But I'll say that
70, okay.
one thing that I think as Black people we get hung up on is this idea of martyrdom. I'm willing to die for my people. Important step that Dessalines takes is the next step after that. You got to be willing to kill for your people. He took his freedom. He didn't run away at night. He didn't hope to sneak up. He kills for his freedom. So I think that puts
He
you in
avenges the race. That's why they call him the race avenger.
So that
Go
puts him
ahead.
in a different mindset.
Okay, okay.
And again, 80-year difference, but still,
Right.
you're right.
Okay. But anyway, let's talk about
But
the
Brother
article.
Dawood, yeah. So again, the importance of appreciation of IET. There could be sometimes in our community some kind of divisions that are fictitious, and I do enjoy hearing when we start putting those divisions aside, understanding that we are one race.
Last time I checked. I don't know. I could be all, but we're one race.
I believe we
We
are.
all have the same melanin, all same DNA, but go ahead.
Different colonizers, different last name, but all European Latin colonizers.
Okay.
So he does a great job. He references Mumia Jamal's piece, which I wasn't familiar with before
Oh, in fact, I have to say this. Brother Dawood used to go communicate and visit Mumia Abu Jamal.
this. Okay.
Listen to this. When he goes to visit Mumia Abu Jamal, Mumia tells him, if you want to talk about railroaded, you want to talk about unjust, this case is even worse than mine. It's a 19-year-old African from Haiti named Bourgela Philistin. He was railroaded. He was on death row too. And Mumia got to know him.
Where was he?
In Pennsylvania. And so because of that, Dawood got to know Bourgela.
Nice.
And Bourgela and Dawood became friends.
Nice.
Every once in a while, when he calls Dawood, they clue me in and we talk. Nice. Let me tell you about Bourgela. While they took him off death row, but he's not going anywhere. So they had a program during COVID that if they took the vaccine, they would get Philly steak, the famous Philly steak sandwich.
You want me to take a shot for a sandwich?
And yeah, no. For those incarcerated who are not going anywhere, you know what he said? I'll take my chances with death row. He said he's not taking the COVID vaccine, so he never did. And so, no, and we reported that on the Community Focus. So, no, so Bourgela said, and his argument is very convincing. He said, the same system that railroaded me, that knows I didn't kill that white cop, that it was in complete self-defense, the white cop pulled me out of the gypsy cab, beat me down, pulled out the gun to terrify me, put the gun in his face. Bourgela, 19 years old, grabbed it out of his hand, was fighting, and then the gun went off. But get this, he was shot by another bullet. It was the other officer with him who was shooting, and he missed, and he shot his own cop.
But they would still charge you with that.
Yeah.
That's still.
So Bourgela was charged with first-degree murder, rioting, inciting, everything. He was on death row. He's not on death row. So he said,
because the officer died.
The same system, hold it, the same system that railroaded me is going to offer me a vaccine. He said, that's okay. I'll take my chances on death row.
You're right.
No, but, he's got a convincing
you want to kill me, now
argument.
you're trying to save my life, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll take my chances on death row.
Right.
So he never took the vaccine. And so, by the way, I sent him both Mumia and Bourgela. I sent them the Garvey's voice and the calendar. Well, especially the Garvey's voice, because Mumia is going to see his article. Mumia, I mean, I've been in Philadelphia. His birthday is April 24th, which is also my father's birthday. So on the 24th of April, many times I'm in Philadelphia supporting Mumia because it's my father's birthday.
Thank you.
So, but no, I mean, we followed Mumia, and it's I think President General says it best. How can you get justice from an unjust system? Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to Dawood's article.
So again, I commend it because I had never seen this piece before because it's back from 2004.
Yeah. Now, Mumia, yeah, he's a student of history.
Yes, he is.
He knows the story.
Yes,
You
and,
know.
and he got some time on his hands too. So.
Yes.
So only thing I remember, he did write a book, him and Asada, actually, right? They have a book, Still Black, Still Strong, something like that.
Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, I know the book. I didn't know he was involved in that.
Yeah, they wrote a book while he was incarcerated,
Right.
which I always found interesting, right? They're both incarcerated.
Well, no, they got rid of the prison
figure out a way
network radio. He used to be on every Monday nights.
Really? That was a prison network radio.
Yeah, I used to listen to him.
I ain't heard it.
Let me tell you. No, finally, the U.S. government said this is enough. No,
Was
every
it
Monday night.
inciting consciousness.
Let me tell you, the finest analysis I ever heard was Mumia analyzing your president, Barack Hussein Obama. You know, after having just almost died at the inauguration, that was the coldest event in my life, and I wouldn't do it, for Mr. Garvey. That's it, nobody else. But a couple weeks later, he's on Prison Radio Network, and his analysis, man, you're talking about being deflated. Well, you know, it's an evolution. You know, I wasn't conscious. I was conscious, but not legitimately race first.
Right.
His analysis of Obama, I said, my God, I was out there for this.
But I would argue that wasn't for Obama. That was just black folks coming together. So you were there with a lot of black people at that.
I actually went with December 12th.
Yeah, so
Sister Viola and the crew.
I value it as a black event, black folk coming together. I don't really center him in that. He just happened to benefit.
Hold it. Okay, the fourth Thursday in November, me hanging out with a whole bunch of black people, we come together. Yes. Is that correct? It's genocide. You know, the fourth Thursday in November, you know, the day of mourning.
Yes.
You know, it's a chance for us black folks to come together, be family. But we're celebrating genocide. Hold it. There's a nice piece in the Garvey Voice about Gaza, about genocide. Yes. So I kind of know some things about genocide. You know what I mean?
But I'm not just talking about the day.
It's been perfected on our people. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, I look at that as, again, not just the day, but the idea that black folk coming together to make something happen.
Yeah, but under what auspices? No, Brother Asta, I categorically dismiss that.
Brother Kwame Ture says some organization is better than no organization.
Okay.
What you saw there was some organization.
Okay. But, you know, I don't know about you, but you'll forgive my naivete. I actually thought something could come out of this. I actually did. I mean, me, of all people, Mr. Cynicism, having worked with white folks.
But that's healthy, though.
No, but I actually,
healthy.
You know what I mean?
That's healthy that you felt that way.
I agree.
Because if we don't believe that something is possible, then we won't do anything. So sometimes, even if the naivete helps us to get off and do something, even if it, but it's still us coming together. You know,
I don't buy that.
You know, and not to refer back to my piece because I want to stick with Dawood's piece, but you know, the culmination of the convention for me was when I came back home to Brooklyn, and we live in Fort Greene, not too far from the park, and it's usually sort of like a daily leisurely stroll. And I remember, after coming back from a Black Island and just an authentic Black experience from the convention to the island to the people. I went back home to Brooklyn, and I talked about in the piece that though I was home, I still felt lost. And
the lost files.
And by that, I mean that I looked around, especially the parts of Brooklyn that I live, and I didn't see too many black faces. And this is nothing new. I'm not going to sit here and say, this was eye-opening. But after having had the experience I had, I now looked at things differently. And we talked about this in a previous phone call. If you're a race-first person, what is a good neighborhood for a black person? Is it...
Or what is a good school?
Or what is a good school?
That's
is it,
right.
And though I live in what's characterized as a good part of Brooklyn, well, if you're a black person, it's not good for me. What's good for a black person is not good for, the rest. So I understand what you're saying in the sense that you went to this inauguration thinking
and it
that
was
this
cold.
right.
I mean, it was
I'm saying,
brutal.
Also, I don't center it on the organization. It's the entire experience. Of,
No, what he's saying,
and
they're
then-
coming together. But I'm
Yeah.
saying hold it.
But black people come together all the time.
Exactly.
But-
we don't, actually, we don't.
Well, no, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't, brother.
No, that's the problem.
No,
We
no,
always
no,
say
no,
black
brother
people
Asta.
for lack of unity. I'm not the first one to say that. We
No, no,
for lack of unity.
No, but
when I mean black people
but
come
hold
together
on.
in the sense, and again, I promise I'm not referring to articles I wrote, but in a previous Garvey's Voice, right? This is an expression that came from the radio. We talked about race versus recession proof,
Right.
And I wrote this article, and you actually really helped me because you gave me some hard statistics. And one of the prevailing, narratives of black people is that we don't have money, we're poor,
That's
we're
right.
downtrodden.
That's
That's
right.
not true. Black people have money,
What's in your hand?
right? So we know how to. We spend money all the time. The thing is, we don't spend it on us. We don't
Right.
spend it with us.
No, but we're inculcated not to. But I get that.
So the
yeah.
idea is that we do come together all the time. We have the resources.
Right.
We just don't have the philosophy. This is why we're on this program today.
That's Mr. Garvey. And then let me add, to borrow one of my heroes, Dr. Amos N. Wilson. He says, just think of all the inventions we black folks have made. I mean, the latest nanotechnology,
right.
the internet, the GPS, the third rail, the blood plasma, you name it. But he says, and he has a good caveat, but under what circumstances and who benefited?
Correct.
It was never done for liberation. It was never done for Africa. It was done to make white folks even stronger.
Right.
It actually adds the narrative of the invincibility of white folks because we assisted them. So, meaning that inauguration, I mean, I still can't believe it was cold, brutal. And, we got up, we left our house, it was like 11 at night. We drove to Brooklyn, hung out with December 12th. We didn't leave till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe to drive, and every bus is descending upon Washington. Everybody was there. And no, I'm sorry, but I could have used that time to reflect and build the UNIA. I wasn't UNIA yet. I mean, I had the seedlings and the seeds, but nah. Anyway, so the point is, getting back to it about Dawood's article, that the analysis that Mumia did on Obama, man, when you're shaking, like, I didn't see that coming. And I should,
Yeah, I mean, because Obama's, there's nothing in Obama that tells you. It made from the point of,
we were really,
of right,
I mean,
what he does to right.
yeah, come on, Pastor,
he's
right?
already shaky.
Right.
You're not even in
Right.
yet.
Yeah, but just think about it. And then there was something I even lost in the confusion. Do you know when in 2008 he reneged on matching contributions? He was the very first candidate to raise so much money. I mean, that means he was bought and paid for. Just think about it. Everybody, he said, I don't need it. I've got my own money. I mean, so who was contributing? So all these people that are giving close to $1 billion, they're doing it for free, right, Brother Asta? In this capitalist society.
No. He was definitely.
He was bought and paid for. No, but anyway, but the point is, I'm not going to waste time on that. But, the onus is on us.
Yes.
We didn't do any work.
yes.
So what do you expect?
Right.
But go ahead.
But Brother Dawood here, Brother Mumia, in speaking on the importance of IET, he lists off some things that everybody in this room already knows. The first independent nation in Latin America, the second independent nation in the whole Western Hemisphere, the first Black republic in the modern world. The only incidents in world history were an enslaved people.
Formerly enslaved, rose up to defeat their captors and then establish a nation. Yes.
Yeah. So.
And this was for all Black people.
Yes.
All Africans. I mean, you know why it's for all Black people? This Stalin could have turned around and said, okay, you others, too bad on you. Do it yourself. Right. But he said, you just got to make your way. And then this Stalin would pay up to 50% more than what they were charging for any ship slave ship that had to stop off the coast. He would pay the ship captains for the cargo for us people. No, so it wasn't. I mean, and think about it. They obviously weren't going to be speaking the language that Dessalines was speaking.
No, no, no.
So he said, these
This
are
was
our
Africans.
people. These are Africans. So this is strict. This is not about a little island called IET. This is for Africa. And as a result, every January 1, that's a holy day of obligation. I mean, I start the year off. You've got to. I mean, yeah. I mean, and Brother Asa, you seem to be enjoying the Soup Jumu quite a bit nowadays.
2 years in a row now I've seen you.
And he enjoys it, and he has to speak. Okay. So does that wrap up Dawood?
Yeah. So again, great piece.
And also important to know, it's going to be a series, right? A series of articles.
Yes. Dawood is going to do a series. In fact, I've got to let him know the March issue. We got to start working on it. And Brother Asta, young Rodney wants to know how many articles are you going to contribute to the next Garvey's Voice?
Yeah, I'm not as prolific a writer as you, but I do.
Oh, stop being so modest.
But yes,
I mean, the resident scholar,
And we have an
intellectual.
MBA professor in the house. I
Oh,
mean,
not only that, but he's been all over the world. He has been to Africa, but he's been to China and the Soviet Union. You know,
I
He's
can't
been
compete with
everywhere.
that.
I will definitely be contributing.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about the 2023 year in review. Go ahead, Rodney.
Excellent idea. We talked about this. Sometimes you come up with an idea and it's so good, you actually say, why didn't I think of this sooner?
That's right.
And I know for a long time you were, I wouldn't say struggling, but contemplating, how do I, what's the cover story? How am I going to, package this edition of the Garvey's Voice? And at some point, it must have hit you in the middle of the night. You said, year in review. And moving forward, every year we're going to have a year in review issue.
And
Amazing
we're probably
idea.
going to expand it to include probably all of the pages will be the year in review, where every division will contribute, like what did they do, how did they enjoy the year.
Absolutely.
But, okay, good.
My only issue, no pun intended, with the year in review is that I only appear in one picture, and it's a small cutout. So we need to fix that.
Okay, duly noted. We started and the thing is, pictures do tell a story.
Absolutely.
And so, in writing this,
Emil is here.
My wife and my son make more appearances than I do.
but they're UNIA members, Okay, good. Anyway, but listen, to help with that article, what we did was we went through our pictures.
Right.
The one good thing of these smartphones, it dates the picture.
Right,
well, it's in chronological order, and you realize, oh, that happened then. So, but you were there for that January, I think it was January 22 meeting, where
Yes,
Sister
I was.
Keisha was levitated.
Yes, I was. I remember
But
that.
Brother Asa, you were there too.
I was there.
Brother, before I get to you, right, Brother Asa, what were your thoughts on that?
So it's just so it's the idea that many hands makes white. I'm misquoting this. Many hands makes work light. So when you have
No,
four
that
people-
was much more than that. It wasn't many hands.
It was four hands.
It's the
Four.
it's a concept of centralizing energy.
Yes.
This is, those pyramids are not just burial chambers.
No.
They were houses of energy. We're talking, you've all pun intended. You heard of what do you call that? 5G.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what they had in ancient Kemet is Ra G. Amun Ra. And I don't mean G as in gigawatts. I mean G as in 9.8 meters per second. The whole concept of gravitational pull. Yes. Africans invented that, discovered it, and were using it. So those pyramids are centers of energy. Yeah. You cannot build those pyramids. You cannot transport those blocks. And if you've ever been to Kemet, if you've seen the Great Pyramid, it's like there are blocks about my size,
Exactly.
As tall as me and much wider than me, And that came from Aswan. From Aswan, you've got to get it on a barge to the Nile River. Then you got to go upstream. Once you get off the Nile River, this is not close to the Nile River. So how do they transport it? We're talking 400,000 skilled Africans working working 6 days a week for 20 years to build that Great Pyramid.
That lasts for 4,000 years, 5,000.
Incredible.
I mean, there has to, yes, there is physics involved, there is science involved, but there has to be metallurgical ingenuity. There has to be some centralizing of energy, center of gravity. And when that brother did it, it popped in my head. I said, oh, that explains. And this is why they can't. That's why white folks say, oh, I don't know how they did it. Yeah, of course you don't know. You'll never know because you can't admit that there is a higher strength, that, what these Africans, what we did. No, that's why we're the greatest there is. That's why Africa is 12 million miles of the Holy Land, and they know that. So that's what I mean, it's not, and besides, you heard what all 4 participants said. They didn't feel a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I remember that.
Sister Keisha said, I didn't feel a thing. And she was the one being levitated. Nobody felt anything. But notice, he had to centralize the energy. He had to, remember that, Brother Asta, and it had to be sequential. He had to do it clockwise, then counterclockwise, and there are rituals. Nature works that way. Science, atomic orbitals work that way. No. So while I was there, and I said, wow, look at that. So that's what I learned from that.
By any chance, do we have video
Yes.
footage of that,
I'm-
right?
Oh,
He
I
did
can.
the
I
radio.
have it. I have it on
Yeah.
video.
And he did the radio.
Yeah. Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
No, I couldn't believe it. I said, look at this. So we did a lot in January. And then February, we went to Africa, our annual sojourn.
Brother
Yeah.
Austin and I were missing in action.
But Brother Asta has never been to Africa. So,
Well, I'm in that same boat as of right now.
yeah, but there's a big age difference. And Brother Asta is like established, he's arrived, he's polished, he's completed,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're still in training, so we'll give you a pass. And so we go throughout the whole year. And but what Rasta Soldier said, it felt like an intimate a photo album sequence.
Yes,
And
it
you
did.
really felt it was there. And pictures do say 1,000 words. Brother Asta, anything from throughout the year that jumps out at you that you'd like to comment on?
I mean, from what you have here?
Yeah.
Or-
No, from what was discussed in the Garvey's voice.
So the Mosio Tunye, I like that you call it that, of course.
Yeah.
One of those European names around here.
No, but you have to see it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, I literally thought of just running and jumping into it. Like I thought I was going to be brought to heaven or something. That's how beautiful it is. Oh man, you have to see it. Mosi Watunya.
Yeah,
By the way, that's in Zimbabwe. It's not in South Africa.
I knew that. I think I
No, I didn't know that, believe it or not. No, I didn't know that. Yeah, no, a lot of these
I
things.
think it was in South Africa.
Let me tell you, traveling to Africa, I don't see any other reason to go other than, let's say Barbados and Curacao to
There's
inaugurate
Africans
the UNIA. But like these other places, Europe,
Yeah.
Asia. I mean, you know what Mr. Garvey says is if Europe is for the Europeans
Then Africa.
and Asia for the Asians, then it must be Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. And so that's the only thing I'm interested in. Okay.
Me both.
Rodney, notable deaths. And anybody that jumps out at you that you may have forgotten that you didn't realize had passed away or that you probably didn't even know.
Right. Notable deaths. Give me a second here. So
Notable deaths, who's my number one there?
Automatic?
Altamadax, attorney at war. I grew up under Altamadax. I came of age Altamadax. Now, I always had a deep and profound respect for Altamadax, and you could feel the passion, how much he loved black folks.
he did.
Yeah, no, I mean, even if you don't like him, Brother Asta, Altamadax is my hero, and always have much respect for Altamadax. Yeah.
I did get it. You were out of the country, I believe.
Yes, I was.
so I
Actually, I
did
missed
attend
a
the
lot of
funeral.
these people.
I was at the funeral.
And Kwame Braithwaite. Yeah, Ilombe Brad's brother. I actually got to meet him in 2013. 2013, Carlos Cooks was born 1913. 2013 is the 100th anniversary of his birth. They had a function for him in Washington Heights. I got invited. Somebody said to someone who said to somebody else, this young guy in Queens knows a lot about Carlos Cooks. So Kwame Braithwaite was there, and I got a chance to speak with him. And after I spoke about Carlos Cooks, you know what he tells me? Did you know him? I said, no, I never even met the brother. Actually, I was still in IET when he died. He died in 1966. I was still in IT. And he said, you remind me of him.
Okay,
Man,
nice.
I was on top of the world.
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
That's
He
a
said,
high
he reminded,
compliment.
I mean, come on.
That's
I mean,
a high compliment.
can you
Really?
imagine that? He knew Carlos Cooks.
And he said, you remind me.
Yeah, I
Wow.
said, oh man. So I picked up the phone. I called Brother Asta. I said, Brother Asta, don't ever speak to me anymore. I didn't know Brother Asta at the time, but just to tell you, I said, really?
I never heard that story
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So and he was the brother of Ilombe Brath, and Ilombe Brath's wife, Namsa, died. I was in Africa again. So when I got back, I reached out to Cinque. I said, Brother Cinque, man, I let you down. I was in Africa. Everything happened in Africa. But, I'm there with you. Your family is royal. And so he said, no problem, Brother Duguay. But, I've been in the same place with her. But Alton Maddox, Dr. Mutulu
We
Shakur.
just lost Sekou Odinga.
Yeah. Actually, there's a picture of Sekou Ndinga in the Garvey's Voice. Page 6. That was when we were recruiting. We were recruiting for the African International Arts Festival. I think it's page 6 or page 7. You'll see. There he is, right there. I'm seeing right there. Yeah.
Dr. Smalls.
That's right. That's right. And then in the picture on top, Sister Viola's there.
Yeah, Sister Viola, Brother
Omwale,
Clay,
Sister
Reverend Daughtry.
Reverend Daughtry, Sister Colette is there.
This is what, the top left-hand corner?
Top right-hand corner.
Okay.
Yeah. What happened was we were at the International Arts Festival, and I see them walking by. So I said, let me take a picture, please. And then they even asked me, do I want to be in the picture? I said, no. This is too important for me to be in the picture. And, this is history. I was like younger than you, Rodney, when I first got to know December 12th. I was a kid. I was in school. Sekou Odinga, Dr. Mutulu Shakur. I was at City College when they would have those events. What do you call that? Republic of New Africa, RNA. I used to go to their meetings at the Harlem State Office building. And I was like a kid. I was a kid. And you would see all of these heavyweights. And I said, wow. So all of these people I looked up to. And to see that I would get to know them in a lifetime, I would have their phone numbers. That means, that's why you do all of this. And that's why we got to build this nation. Our warriors should be given the respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all of this. So
We have PG's birthday as well. This year.
yeah, no, but the whole year in review is excellent. Now, talk to me about the winter solstice.
So that's the Browder piece. Anthony Browder.
Go ahead, Rodney.
I enjoyed that article because I'd mentioned to you around the holiday times, especially in my neighborhood, you get inundated with all this Christmas
Materialism.
propaganda, and it's not just the Santa Claus, it's the reindeers and the snow. I mean, the whole thing. And I remember thinking, man, I wanted to write an article like, the tis the season to be Garvey instead of tis the season to be jolly, and basically just write a piece just to just rebuke all this Christmas propaganda, Jesus and all that. But I didn't really have the
Ammunition.
the foundation, the information to really make that piece. I sometimes you have an idea of what you want to write, but you don't just have the information. So when I read this interview, I said, man, this is what I was looking for. This was the foundational backbone for my piece. But wow, I mean, after reading that, and again, I know we have to respect other people's religions and right to worship, but
Well, as long as it's race first.
No, but after reading that,
race first is first.
right,
If
no,
your God is not race,
right.
it's
No,
got to go.
I'm trying to be politically correct here,
No, but no. But at this stage, you know what? You can be correct, you can be polite, but we need to build a nation.
right.
And if you're gonna come and talk to me about white Jesus, white God, white
Right.
Mary, white Ten Commandments, I just don't have time for it. We don't. How are we gonna get anywhere?
Right.
But let me say this. I wanted to write this article for at least 4 years. And I thought about it. I said, instead of my saying it, let me take it out of Anthony Browder's words.
Right.
And he, by the way, you've been to his program in Washington, D.C. Remember Egypt and the Potomac?
Yes.
That's Anthony Browder. Remember we
Okay.
did that with
Right.
Joanna, you,
Yeah.
Caffrey, and
This is before
Zinga.
Mill was born. Right. Right.
We did. And remember, do you remember how much I was taking notes?
I remember we had a good time.
Oh, but Washington, D.C. is a testimony to ancient Kemet. They wanted to go build a capital that would withstand time. That would be the most powerful. So, Brother Asta, how come they didn't use Rome? How come they didn't use Greece?
Because those all came after. They want to go right to the
They
beginning.
went to the source. They
Right.
copied everything out of ancient Kemet, everything to the last detail. And so, I mean, come on. You're talking about plagiarism. Give that back to me, man. And then the pool, the drinking pool, that's out of Luxor. I've been there. I put my foot in the water. I've been there.
Don't rub it in our face. Mel.
For those of you who've never been to Kemet, I've been there a couple times.
One of the funny things is, because so they were Masons, right?
Right.
But they didn't let blacks in. So you had Prince Hall Masons who
Right.
were trying to get into the white Masons, but they couldn't get them in, so they formed
Their
Prince
own.
Hall, so their
Right.
own Masons. But the funniest thing is, so you got blacks trying to get with the whites, but the whites are studying the blacks, right? They're studying Africa.
No, but hold it.
They
Hold
studying
it.
you,
The
keeping you.
Masons. No, let me say this. This is the lodge created at Saqqara that Imhotep created. The center of learning in the ancient world, in ancient Kemet, was in Luxor. That's in the south. When Zoser after Narmer established the dynastic Kemet, he built his headquarters in what they call the city of Memphis. The city of Menes.
Right.
Menes is the Greek name. The Greeks take credit for everything. Okay, Memphis is right outside of Cairo. Okay, Saqqara is next door to Memphis. So now you've got Zoser, we're in the third dynasty. He's the big time. It's almost like Michael Duncan falling into Raymond Duguay. Same thing. Zoser just fell into Imhotep, the greatest of the great. And so he's going to design the first stone building on the planet.
Still exists 5,000 years ago.
But hold it. And they were called stone masons.
Okay.
White folks come on, they get rid of the stone, they call it masons. So the whole concept of masonry is Imhotep. It was at the Grand Lodge of Saqqara. That was the highest learning center ever to exist. All the top of the Brother Astor, it was so exclusive, they wouldn't even allow you in. And you're a super intellectual. I mean,
This is high standards.
I mean, those are high standards. I mean, Brother Astor, I mean, you'd have a hard time. You'd say, well, I don't know who this guy is. He's never been back home. So I don't know if we can admit him in. But anyway, that's how impressive it was. And so I said, instead of my writing it, let me take this interview. And you do a search on Anthony Browder. He's done this everywhere. He's on the Rock Newman show. He's even done it. Are you ready for this? 1996. No, 1995, December. There's a YouTube video of Anthony Browder at UAM. And who's introducing him? Alton Maddox. It's an hour and 40 minutes long. Everything dead on. He recapitulates it, but there's another, that interview was done in December of 2016 of Anthony Browder, and he was in the Real News, but he's done it multiple places, and it's eye-popping, and everything makes sense, and I said, wow. Let me just recapitulate. When after Constantine, after they finally agree, this pagan form of worship, we'll call it the Catholic Church. By the way, Catholic means universal. So it's called the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Catholic is not a religion per se. It's an adjective that means universal. like the Universal Negro Improvement Association.
What
So-
universe is this? Not mine.
Their universe. And so listen to this, Rodney. So what happens is they've co-opted it. They say, okay, now it's going to work for us. So it becomes the Holy Roman Empire. And so at the Council of Nicaea in modern day Turkey, they've got to determine, they're fixing up the whole faith, the whole religion. Where is this guy going to be born, and how are we going to calculate his death and his resurrection? And so when it comes time to the birth, the bishops, there's I think 83 bishops at the Council of Nicaea, they ask Constantine, okay, when are we going to say this guy was born? Constantine says, hold it. These Africans have been using December 25th, when the sun, S-U-N, is born. December 21 is the winter solstice, the highest point in the northern hemisphere. For 3 days, the sun stays still. On the 4th day, on the 25th, it starts to move, where it moves 1 minute per day. And that's how it gets lighter after that time. Believe it or not, it's getting lighter as we speak now in January of 2024. Anyway, so he wants to know what day to use. He says to them, the date these Africans have been using since the time immemorial. So that's why December 25th comes in. And then they make the narrative to fit it. Like, for example, the sun, S-O-N, is born of a virgin. Well, the S-U-N on the 25th of December, as the sun is coming up, the constellation of Virgo is going through the horizon, half above the horizon, half hidden. It starts to rise. So it was said the sun, S-U-N, is born of a virgin, because that's where it's coming up. And the Aegeus of what do you call that? Of Aegeus of stable. The Aegeus constellation look like a stable. Well, at the same time, it's in the stable. So you would say the son born of a virgin in a stable. So once that was known, they made the stories to fit that narrative. But the concept of constellations, looking at the stars, meaning you had to have invented and discovered telescopes. I mean, how else could you see all of this? I mean, anyway, so all of that, and for years, I wanted to discuss this and to have enough knowledge where it's irrefutable. And I went back, I saw that interview, I said, bingo, let me use that interview. And then we supplement the interview with a lot of pictures. If you notice in the Garvey's voice, I don't think there's one page without a picture. We always put pictures because we want to attract people. Well, no, I think Dawood's article is 2 pages long. The first page has no picture. But the second page is got Negmawan, the universal symbol for resistance. The African in chains with his machete in his one hand and the conch shell in the other hand. That's been there since time immemorial. But yeah, okay. Let's start to wrap up. The cholesterol highway. What were your thoughts on that, Rodney?
Enjoyable. I enjoyed that.
And it's
article.
colorful.
Very colorful. The article that I liked, if I may say so myself, I did not know that Egypt, and it again, as you learn more information, you gain a deeper appreciation. My brother is named Kemet.
Yes, sir.
Named him after.
Yes,
and I
sir.
always knew the importance of that. I always understood that was the original name of Africa.
Right.
As I learned more, I understand it's even more significant because Egypt is not the original name of
That's
the
a
land.
Greek word.
It's a Greek word.
I mean, come on, man. Come
And-
on. Ethiopia is a Greek word. Come on, man. Use your own name.
And it made me think a little bit about, you can't call yourself race first and continent. You're still using the word Egypt.
Right.
So I kind of, and that's another way that sort of the oppressor continues to oppress us. That even if we call ourselves free, but we're still using their language, their
That's right.
terminology.
That's right.
So that was powerful in a way. But I said, wow, Egypt, so it made me appreciate why you called Kemet.
Kemet.
I said,
Yeah.
wow, I get it. And even now, when I talk to people, when I do travel to,
That's why we named you Sumer too.
Right.
In fact, Sumer, from the Sumerians, they want to tell you they're Western Asian. These were Africans down and through. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that.
and just to again underscored the power in a name. It made me think about Malcolm X, why
Right.
he dropped the little
Right.
and put X. It made me think, even though I haven't experienced it, made me think of the naming ceremony when you guys go to Africa. The importance of
man.
names,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
So that touched me and really made me think, wow, okay. Again, we talk about race first is not a destination, it's an evolution, it's a journey. And
That's
a lot of times I hope people also have these, what I like to call light bulb moments, where you read something and it strikes a chord. You say, okay, I understand how society, I understand how the world works. So for me, all the articles are exceptional, but that piece in particular, that point about Egypt really
Yeah.
resonated with me.
No, and how the term Middle East comes up
Right.
to be. There's no such place.
Right,
It's Western Asia.
right.
And in fact, it's important to know because, Brother Astor, in Dr. Chancellor Williams' book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, the first time I read the book, he kept saying Asian, Asian, Asian. I never got it. I actually thought he meant Chinese. Well, it is. Asia is a big continent.
yeah.
But when he was talking about Asian, he's talking about Western Asians, Central Asian, the one in Kazakhstan, the one in Saudi Arabia and Turkey. And these were the
technically the ones that
Hittites,
are
the
in-
Hyksos. These were the ones who invaded and occupied our lands.
The ones who've been occupying Northern Africa since.
Can you believe that? Yeah. So no. And now I get it. And and there's no such thing. They made that term to take Egypt out of Africa.
100%. 100%.
And it succeeded. Yes. Okay. What are your thoughts on Secretary General's corner?
I enjoyed that a lot. Again, going back to the convention, that was another hot topic. The talking about the international headquarters.
Yes.
And how we're going to restore that and bring that back to its rightful prominence. And again, I meant to say, there's so much. I want people to read this and get inspired. But there's no matter how well we write, no matter how we try to capture these events, you really have to join the UNA to experience this firsthand. There's
Right.
no amount of ink or words that we can put together to capture these moments.
Okay,
So to anyone, I would tell them, please join us.
Okay. Wrapping up, President General's message about making the headquarters operational.
I'm fully for it.
And honoring our elders at the upcoming Marcus Garvey parade. Your thoughts?
I think that's the way to go, and I love that. I think was it at the convention that President General announced
about loans,
the loan
internal
program,
loans,
right?
yes.
Right. Excellent idea. I know a couple members have already participated, and I'm looking forward to having that fully operational. I think we have a great business plan. He talked about renting out the space for
As soon as it's built.
right. We have
yes,
to get
yeah,
there,
yeah.
but I like the plan, and we just need to, like anything else, just need to get our heads together and make it happen.
Okay. Brother Astor, the editorial, Reflections of an Editor and his travels to Africa.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
before you continue, what are your thoughts of the pictures of our members, especially Sister Antoinette, the women, the UNI women in Kenya,
Beautiful.
and the family pictures of the Duncans. By the way, that family picture of the Duncans, that's before we got to know them.
The portrait, right?
Yes, we met them in
yeah, okay,
1999. So this is before 1999. So this is BD before Duguay. Okay, so it's ancient. Okay, but anyway, you can see the pictures of the UNI members, and that's why it's important. By the way, whenever we travel, whenever we do, I'm always taking photos, and that's why
you do have
I
to
always
record
tell people it's for the Garvey's voice. Yes, and so.
Just to let everyone know, this current edition, is this on sale right now at The Rock?
It's on sale at the Rock,
okay.
the FACA Rock. Please, it's normally the Garvey's Voice is 28 pages. This is 32. This is a special edition because we had to capture the year in review, and we really wanted to give respect to Anthony Browder and the Winter Solstice. So it's packed. It's got Dawood Andre and IET. It's got the Lost Files from our beloved Rodney Duguay. Anyway, so Brother Astor, the travels in Africa.
Yeah, the idea is that
Well, Brother Oscar, can you relate to that in any way?
Well, he created travels in South Jamaica. That's about it. Southeast Queens. That's it.
As I always
So,
say,
so
Father,
you know what?
whatever-
So we can stop discussion on
You
it.
may not be the right person, you know.
Yeah, you can't relate to it.
But the idea is, if we don't appreciate it, if we don't put, then other people will, and you'll wonder why we lose it. And that's essentially what you're saying here. The idea that we don't put it in high esteem, we don't put it on the pedestal. Somebody else is gonna come along and
Well
put it on
said.
the pedestal, and you wonder why. You wonder why that is. So yes, Africa. Kwame Nkrumah. I am not an African because I was born in Africa. I'm an African because Africa was born in me.
Your favorite line.
That's as close to Africa as you're going to get, right?
And in the spirit of Ubuntu, I am because he was. So whenever your father's there, I'm there too.
Said like a true intellectual.
Yeah. He's got that cornered. Yeah.
So yes.
No, but do you realize I spent 8 weeks in Africa in 2023 altogether?
Only?
It's not like more than that. It's not like more than that. It's not like more.
I'm a little shocked.
No, and then,
disappointed even.
and then I spent another 2 weeks in Curacao. I spent 2.5 months in Black Land. I mean, let me tell you, many times when people call me, "Are you in America?"
That's it.
Well,
That's what they
yeah.
ask.
No,
It's
but
like,
let me say this: it was, and I plan to spend another at least 8 weeks in Africa because, especially Kenya and Ethiopia, especially Ethiopia, I didn't finish my travels. We didn't see Lake Tana, we didn't see Lalibela, and we didn't see Gundar. I mean, I've got to complete those because I've got to promote and advertise this in the Garvey's Voice. And, once you've been there, I tell you, you will want to see it. So I definitely have to go back to Ethiopia. And plus, I don't know how to bring these Garvey's Voices, how to ship them because a lot of it, especially in Ethiopia, their photos are there. In South Africa, we started something. And they're counting on me to go back because I really want to build the UNIA there. So I would say, and don't forget, in October, we're going to, get this, we're going to leave New York October 18th. We're going to Ghana for a couple days, Togo for 1 day, Benin for 3 days, and Nigeria, the big time, for another 7 days. So October, we're doing that whole strip. They're all next to each other. Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria. So that's with the group. But personally, I have to go back to Ethiopia and finish that travel. And if Egypt presents itself, because you forgive me for using the Greek word, because I have to go back and finish the third leg. Because as many of you may know, I'm writing the book. It's called the UNIA Primer on Kemet. And I need that third leg to complete it. I've got enough material. Well, I don't have anything down on paper. It's all in my mind. But I know how I've created it. And it's going to take time. So I need to complete that. Plus, I really do need to go back and finish Ethiopia. And South Africa, we've started something there. And, Ghana and Liberia is home, especially Liberia, independent of who is the president. But right. we've got the Liberty Farm there. And I need to see it through how Liberty Farm, the factory, becomes the manufacturing processing plant. So that necessarily means going back and forth. So the plan is another 8 weeks, maybe even 10, 12 weeks.
I wouldn't be surprised if you surpass that this year.
Yeah.
At least that should be the goal, I hope.
Yeah, because, Africa's calling. Unlike some intellectuals in this room who've never been to Africa, I can't live without Africa.
What are you talking about? Me, Brother Oscar and myself. We're both guilty here.
But one is more accomplished at it. Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah. No, but anyway, so what else can we say? And slave revolt. Before we get into that, can you imagine the number of Africans killed just in the Congo?
Yeah.
In the last, this is,
yeah,
where's the outrage, man?
No one
talking about
talks about
genocide.
it, right? They talk about the Holocaust, but they don't talk about King Leopold.
No, but I'm talking about recently.
Recently.
No, I'm not talking about Leopold. But just recently, when it was told to me, I went back, I said, we have to do something about this. we don't even make these weapons, and we're being killed by them. You know, and
People that look like us.
yes, and so, and here's the other thing about the mineral resources in Africa. Africa's the richest continent. It may be. Well, it definitely is, but those natural mineral resources are determined by others.
Yeah, because you don't put them, have a way to use them.
Not only that, but how do we extract them without destroying vegetation? But even if we allow and admit the destruction of our vegetation, what equipment, tools, and technology do we have? So guess what? It means nothing. Agriculture's got to be the focus.
Well, you got to eat first.
Yeah. So, it doesn't, but just to see the numbers of Africans who've been killed in the Congo, just one place. I mean, this is outrageous. No, it's in the Garvey's voice. And I couldn't believe it. I said, we really do need to get our act together and build up our nation. But now, back to slave revolt. Rodney, you and I have discussed this, and talk to me about how those fighters, known as Hamas fighters, how they went out and projected the ability to manipulate the stock market in Tel Aviv.
Right. So I found this interesting. And it's funny. I'm sure the story is even more impressive than what I read. 'Cause keep in mind, I actually read the story in New York Post, which is owned by a right-wing conglomerate. So, but if a right-wing conglomerate is willing to give high praise to Hamas, I know the story is even bigger than that.
That's right.
But basically what the story is that this October 7th attack was so well rehearsed, well planned, and well executed that months leading up to October 7th, the date that they were going to execute this attack, the financial regulators in Israel detected highly unusual trading activity. And in a nutshell, for those that are not familiar with these financial terms, that the unusual activity was they found a lot of people placing large wagers betting against the stock market. So the idea is that someone had advanced knowledge of a future event that would have negatively impacted the stock market. And as they started to review the details of the trades, they realized, oh, wait, this is no coincidence. This is connected to Hamas. Hamas and their supporters started to place large wagers, essentially betting against the Israeli stock market and the economy at large. So when this October 7th attack, not only did they attack them, but they also financially benefited because within weeks, the market...
This was the total plan.
100%.
They sat down. And now talk to me about what's in the article with that political scientist who says that he's still blown away how this, because you're talking about it's the most infiltrated, the most surveilled piece of real estate on the planet. It's 5 miles wide by 25 miles long. They have more Secret Service, more surveillance, more collaborators, more detectives than any place on the planet. And in the article, the political scientist, well known, says that he's blown away how this could have been executed, had been planned, and nobody knew this. He says, these were people that were committed to this goal. I have a term for you. I call it race first. Go ahead, Rodney.
Absolutely. And it's funny. This is why the Garvey voice is so essential, because if you read mainstream media, they called it an intelligence failure. No, it wasn't intelligence failure. These guys are so brilliant and shrewd and calculating. They had all this mapped. It was no intelligence failure. This is, like you said, the commitment to race first. And to add to that, a lot of the architects of the October 7th attack, they were formerly actually imprisoned
incarcerated in Israel.
Right.
Go ahead.
And a lot of these, what happened was years ago, it was a couple infamous. Basically, what happens is there were these prisoner swaps. So what they do is Hamas will capture 1 or 2 Israeli soldiers. And in Israeli society, I learned this, the reading is that, as far as how do you go?
It's a military society. So their military are given top respect.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. So what they realized that by targeting military service members, they're able to have the return. It's basically.
No, but let's also add the reason why there are so many Palestinians incarcerated. These are all bogus charges.
Right.
I mean, just for
all
looking
political prisoners,
the
right.
wrong way. These are
Right.
all political prisoners. So
Right.
it's not like these are criminals per
Right,
se. These
right.
are all political prisoners. And all of this is like, dude, you know, it's one thing you oppress us, you militarily defeat us. It's one thing. It's like a world's largest outdoor prison.
I
that
think they call it
all-
open air prison,
open
right?
air
Yeah.
prison. All of the means of transportation are covered.
Right.
And then if we're even lucky enough to leave Gaza, what we have to go through so many stages of detention. I mean, this is just, but even all that, as evil as it is, but then you go out and you round up innocent youth, innocent young adults just walking about their business. So they've got thousands of children in prison. Forget about the adults.
Right. Right.
I mean, so, you know, that's what this is about. Like, come on, it's enough. You know, so the only thing you understand is power. Okay, power concedes nothing without a demand. Okay, we're gonna get a demand. And thing is, you kidnap an IDF, you know, Israeli Defense Force, an IDF serviceman, and knowing that society where they place such a high emphasis on IDF and IDF military people, that, and this is a way to really step on you. What IDF and what that country does, what the Zionists do is, you know what? We are so important. One of us is worth a million of you.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's also to continue the oppression and the
Right.
denigration.
It's such an asymmetrical trait. You know, one soldier is worth like 2,000,
Right.
you know, Hamas or you
Right,
know,
Palestinian. That's
you know.
right. That's right.
And it's interesting you bring that up. So a lot of the members who were behind and responsible for the October 7th attack, they were formerly incarcerated on these bogus charges, and they actually won their freedom, if I can put it that way.
Which they never expected to.
So they won their freedom. So basically, Israel let these people out because of the hierarchy of society. It put such a high value on IDF and military men. That's how these Palestinians were able to win their freedom. And then once they got their freedom, it's not like they just started planning. And this is what we talked about. And I want people, this is really important as far as what it means to be race first. Keep in mind, these people are incarcerated, and it's not like it's a sentence where you're going to die in these prisons. And they're not even in prison. They're really these, you know, harsh detention centers.
Right.
They're being abused. But the whole
Concentration camps.
concentration camps, right?
Slave dungeons. You know,
Slave
things
dungeons.
that we know a lot about.
And just think about the whole time they're there, not only do these people not lose hope, not lose motivation, but the whole time they're plotting and planning.
They're
just
still
waiting.
working for their liberation, for liberation of their people. They know they're not going to see it, but they're working for their people. They're putting race first.
And not only are they planning and they're still motivated and still driven, but they're learning the insides of the society of Israel. So
That's
they know
right.
how the inner workings of how
And they
society
learned
works
to speak Hebrew.
fluently. And I said, you know, again, I am not as well versed as you are in politics and world history, but when I read that, I'm like, this is what it means to be race first. I mean, you're incarcerated, no hope of ever getting out.
That's
and yet
right.
every day you're driven to continue to advance the interests of your people.
That's
and
right.
when you get that opportunity, you don't waste it. You seize it. And this is culminated in October 7th.
That's it.
Amazing.
Okay, I think we're about at the end. Brother Asta, give us your roundup. We'll go back to Rodney, and then we close it out.
I mean, great issue. Great way to end the year out, or better said, begin the new year, 2024. Understanding that we have a standard that we have to meet, and thanks for all the writers, everyone who contributed, as always, to another great Garvey's Voice issue. Of course, we look forward to many great issues throughout the coming 2024. There will be a whole lot to write about as well.
That's right.
So
Okay.
we plan on.
Brother Asta, three things. What are you doing July 20th? What are you doing August 17th? And what will you be doing from August 15th to August 20?
All right, so we're talking about parades.
Okay, there you go.
Queens and Harlem. It's going to be a busy summer.
So I guess July 20th, you're putting on the very first Queens UNIA parade?
Yes.
Oh, man.
That's a big deal right there.
It's going to be serious.
Okay, and what about August 17th? As if I don't know.
We're in Harlem, baby. The Mecca. the Mecca. That's right.
Say, why do you have to say Mecca? When you said the Abydos? Why don't you say, even though that's a Greek word, but Abydos was the very
You're right.
first, what do you call that? a religious center, pilgrimage center on the planet. You know, your ancestor, Norman, the very first pharaoh, he had to go to Abydos. I know they changed the name, it's a Greek word now. Abydos to pray. He had to pray. He had to recite the 42 admonitions of Ma'at. He said, please forgive me, Ma'at. I'm about to kill Sambos. I'm about to kill sellouts. But it's for the greater good. I've got to unify all of Kemet. But please forgive me. I have to go and we're going to throw out the Asians. But I first have to round up some of our people who just don't get it. So that was so don't use the word Mecca.
Who was the first person to say that? Refer to Harlem as the Mecca. Who said that?
I think everybody. I think Garvey.
Everybody says it. Where's it come from? But anyway.
Yeah, but,
you're right. We're not
giving it.
Yes, we do need
call
to.
it the Luxor. Call it the Waset. Luxor is the Greek name. I'm sorry. Luxor is the Roman name. And then the Greek name is Thebes. They pronounce it Thebes, but it's Thebes. But the African Kemetic Medu-Neter name is Waset.
Yes, that's
Yet another reason why Brother Oster needs to make that trip.
and he's been to Asia, so you know he's terrible. He's terrible.
Wasn't for vacation or nothing like that, but anyhow.
Yeah, but you were there 2 years.
2 years.
Well, he had to do his MBA.
We could devote a whole episode about that.
So so Harlem, and then we have of course our annual convention. But before that, we also have HEC in Philadelphia.
That's right.
So so we got a lot.
April 11th to April 13th. So you're all invited. Please come out. Please join the UNI. Please shop at The Rock. And finally, before we switch off to Rodney, The Rock, dividends. I mean, you got dividends. I mean, Brother Oster. I mean, you know, what's going on here? So I
Wait,
guess
are you telling me Brother Oster is not an investor?
He is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought.
Actually, I need to purchase some more shares. Actually.
Yeah, I think so. It should be a requirement for officers should have 10,000 shares. I don't know. Yeah, but you know, this is an MBA. This is a professor. I mean, he should be teaching us.
We're an esteemed company here.
Are we still looking for a new location?
No, we have to. The place is too small. Yeah, that's so obvious.
We need an episode just on like a rock update. You know, get President General here and really talk about, or even Sister Keisha. Really have an episode devoted to the rock.
Yeah, we need to. Okay.
What about in Far Rockaway Boulevard?
Listen. No, we'll go wherever our people are. As simple as that. But the one thing is, we're not going to go into Caucasian neighborhoods.
Of course. I mean,
that's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Space is at a premium in New York City. So.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, Rodney, wrap up the Garvey's Voice and why should I join the UNIA?
The Garveys, this was an excellent addition. And I'm not saying that because I contributed. You really did an amazing job. And I'm looking forward to the next year because we finally are starting to have a real staff now.
Yes.
So that's exciting. As far as why you should join the UNIA, if I can say it so firmly and directly, if you don't put your race first, you're putting another race first. Everything is about race first. So those that say, oh, but why does it have to be race all the time? Whether you accept it or not, whether you admit it or not, if you're not putting your own race first, you're uplifting another race. It's as simple as that.
So you're assisting in your own demise.
That's it. So
wow.
So it's not even, you don't have to be a radical to realize, wait, hold on. It's just a logical belief that I want to advance my own interest. And it's not my own personal interest.
It's not political. It's just common sense.
You couldn't have said it better. And that's all. And like I said, we talked about this at the convention. You can be well-read. You can be an intellectual like, Brother Oster. You can be conscious like my dad was for so many years. But until you understand race-first philosophy, you're not quite getting it yet. You're not advancing your interest.
You're not assisting our own liberation.
Right.
You're actually helping to keep us unliberated.
Right.
It's really, race first is not just a luxury. It's an absolute necessity because we need to do it not just to succeed so we don't fail. Right. And Mr. Garvey says that you have to work with your children, not only to educate and uplift them, but to work on the evil designs that they are taught in the schools. Right. Because these schools are working against our benefit. So is that it, Rodney?
Yeah.
Okay. There you have it. We've had young Rodney Sumer Duguay and our esteemed president of the New York division, our brother Oster G. Bryan. This is the first of many. This is coming to you from the Marcus Garvey Hillside Studios. We discuss the year in review 2023 Garvey's issues. So my name is Raymond Duguay. I serve as the first assistant president general of the UNIA. But more importantly, I'm at your service. Race first.